I was asked to speak on digital marketing strategy. I'm actually going to talk about it, but not directly. So you guys are going to have to sort of put up with a lot of nonsense to actually get the information, because I figure all day you've been, sort of beat over the head with very direct things. So I'm going to make my little lessons hard to find. And inside, I am going to tell you ahead of time, there are really only two super important things for you to remember at the end of my presentation. So I will remind you when those come up, because you don't want to miss those. So just really quickly, my name is Saul Colt. I'm the head of magic at my own little marketing agency called Saul. A little about me, I collect Air Force One sneakers, and for over 10 years I worked in the comic book industry. I usually have more things on the A Little Bit About Me page, but most of them are inappropriate, and I actually did a talk for an Orthodox Jewish business group, so they asked me to remove all sorts of slides from my thing. There's usually a picture of me with Santa and all sorts of stuff. Also, a little bit about me, I love girls, and that's one of the things you should remember about my talk. So why am I here today? I'm going to burn through this really quickly. I'm actually going to give you guys 3 really interesting talks in one, just because one talk wasn't enough for this group. So I'm going to teach you guys about digital marketing strategy. I'm going to teach you how to build an online community and how online communities are very similar to pretty girls. So dictionary says that the community is basically a group of like-minded people who share, some respect for a larger society. That is true, and that's why online communities are really, really interesting digital strategies, or it's an interesting way to build a following and a strategy. So why are communities important? It's especially important for real estate agents and people in your industry, because you guys are all, dying for referrals. So when you have a community, you have people who are following you, it's really great, because these people are going to always be up to date with what you're up to. So I love communities because they provide you with input, they make brands human, they cheerlead for you. Think of yourself as a brand, because you guys obviously are. There's, when you're a real estate agent, people are dealing with you, you are the brand. Chances are there's already a community of some kind around you, whether or not you know it. So there are people who you've touched, people who you've sold homes to, people who you've dealt with that really like you as a person, and they're going to refer you. So these are the people that are in your community right now. The trick is, how do you make that group bigger? So one thing you have to really understand when there's a community is you don't own your own community. There's a lot of people who, will like a brand, like a person, something like that, but, let's say I have fans, whatever fans actually mean. I can't just show up and start telling them what to do, because for the most part, communities are built out of their own self-interest. People find each other because they have this shared interest. If I were to just show up in a community, I would pretty much look like this. And for those of you who don't watch as many movies as I do, this is Martin Lawrence in the Big Mama movie. So he was an undercover I think he's an FBI agent or something, and he's basically, you show up, you're going to look like a black guy in a dress and wig, because people aren't going to understand, why you're there, and they're going to be very suspicious at the beginning. So you have to really nurture your communities, and you have to basically prove to them that you deserve to be there as much as anyone else. And it's sort of funny if people are already a community around you still having to prove yourself, but that's exactly what happens. So this all sounds great, but why should we build an online community? And where's all this digital strategy stuff you promised? I'm getting to it. Thank you for asking, by the way. So one of the things I always talk about, and to be honest with you, I've got to come up with a new sort of thing to talk about, because even I'm getting a little tired of it, but it might be new to you guys, is I always tell people, if you're getting online, you're building an online community, think of it as going back to the future. This is, Michael J. Fox and everything. Think of yourself as being in the 1950s. Because with social media and with all this online communication, you actually have the ability to find out a lot of information about people. You actually have the ability to know what's going on in their everyday life, and actually inserting yourself and showing that you take an interest. So I love the 1950s. I wasn't born in the 50s. I didn't live in the 50s. But I watched a lot of TV, so I sort of feel as if I kind of know what's going on. But in the 50s, if somebody lost a job, the community rallied around them. If you went to the local butcher shop or whatever, people knew your name. Now, we've become so, compartmentalized. People can't, it's impossible. Like, I don't imagine anybody in this room knows everybody's name in the room. But, it's possible now with social media to actually keep tabs on people and know what's going on. And I don't mean that in like a creepy way. So in the 50s, and this is the other thing I know about the 50s. In the 50s, it was really cool to smoke cigarettes. Even doctors told you should. So, yeah, it still is kind of cool, I guess. I just don't do it. But so getting back to the point that I was talking about, to really know what's going on with your community, you have to read the entire internet every single day. So that's actually a sort of famous quote. Do you guys know who said that? Pardon me? Close. It was me like 30 seconds ago. But Al Gore and I get confused for each other often. But see, there's some truth into this, and this is going back to the 1950s sort of mentality. And you'd say, oh, it's impossible to read the entire internet, and that's sort of an exaggeration, but you can read the parts of the internet that are relevant to you and relevant to your community. So, we're a little tight for time, so I'm not going to go through every product on the board here, but Twitter, Facebook, these are sort of things you probably learned about today or have a varying degree of understanding. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw them out or ask during the panel or something like that. But like, how was that funny? But, sorry. But the web does let you do that, and here's one of the ways. So arguably, the most popular thing for real estate agents, I'm just making this stuff up, so correct me if I'm wrong, is Facebook. And there's a lot of different ways to tackle Facebook. And if I had a big red light, the red light would be going on right now, because this is one of the 2 or 3 takeaways. Pay attention to like the next 30 seconds, then you guys can go back to whatever you're doing. But there's a couple different ways to use Facebook as a real estate agent. So obviously you could set up a fan page all about yourself, or set up a fan page as your broker, as your brand, and say, these are our listing, this is what we're doing, and this is Zucasa's fan page. I was trying to impress them, but they've left, so it doesn't really matter. The other way of doing it is doing it about yourself and saying, I'm a real estate agent, and these are all my listings and things like that. And I chose this woman because she was in California and she was pretty, and I figured I didn't want to do anybody who was in Toronto and then someone would get offended or something like that. But this is very interesting because I look at this. How many people in the room think this is the right way to do things? Most of you? So this is one of the right ways to do things. But I'm going to give you a little secret. As someone who actually buys homes or has bought a home in the past, I would never friend this. And I hope I'm not offending any of you, because this doesn't really mean anything to me. What does mean something to me, is the best way to do Facebook. And I'm going to give you guys a little secret as a consumer. And this is probably something that you guys could really capitalize. No offense. Nobody cares about you guys until they're ready to buy a home. And I hope you guys don't take that the wrong way. But what they do care about, set up a Facebook fan page for whatever your niche specialty is. So if you guys specialize in, downtown condos, set up a page for downtown condos and bring everybody in that's interested in downtown condos, because that's something that people will spend time chatting about all year round. Okay, they may not be interested in you, but if you're neighborhood specific and you specialize in luxury waterfront properties, people will fan a luxury waterfront property fan page, because that's something they can actually feel either aspirational about or just actually really interested in. So that's a way to actually gather a lot of people in, and it's not specific to you, because if I just got a random, follow me, I'm this agent, I wouldn't do it. But if it was, luxury waterfront properties, even though I can't afford one, that is something I'm aspiring to afford, I may follow that, or I may pay attention, or I may get in on the conversation. So that's one of my big takeaways. Please, figure out what your niche is, set up a fan page around your niche. You should have your personal one as well, but through whatever your aspirational side is, you'll be the creator of the fan site, you'll be the person moderating, you'll be the person engaging with the people. Chances are some people will spill over from your luxury condo fan page to your personal fan page. Don't do it the other way around because, well, you can do it the other way around. It'll just be a bit more of a tough fight. I saw somebody's hand. Did somebody have a question? Yes, sir. Okay. Pardon me? Yeah, well, with the example here, like this isn't this woman's personal Facebook page. She's created just a fan page for her work in real estate. So I know one of the comments earlier was set up a personal one for your friends and family and set up a professional. I absolutely agree with that, but I also say go one step further. Have your professional site. Don't lose sleep over it if nobody's following you over here, but figure out some way to do an aspirational site and bill yourself as a neighborhood expert or an expert in a certain type of homes, something like that. You can even go as niche as saying, you know, I specialize in, and I'm just, again, making stuff up, I specialize in Tudor homes or Spanish style homes or whatever, you know, and you'll find those people. So how's this like dating? I'm going to whip through this because we don't have a lot of time. I want to save as many times for questions in the panel. But for the rest of this presentation, think of your project as the most handsome man you've ever seen. And think of your community as the most beautiful woman. No reaction. Okay, so think about the life cycle of dating. This is not that different from finding a new customer or building an online community. You know, you have your introduction, your attraction, your courting, your dating, and your love. So introduction, that's where you get introduced to people. So how does this come from? Think of your new clients. They come from friends' referrals. They come from word of mouth. They come from advertising. They come from wherever. That's no different than what you guys are doing as far as lead prospecting. Attraction. Nobody really knows how attraction works and why some people like one thing or the other. It's kind of like how there's you know, fans of Angelina Jolie, and then you've got fans of Jennifer Aniston. I blanked on her name for a second. I really should update this because I don't even think they hate each other anymore. But very few people like them both. You're either on one side or the other. So trying to figure out what actually attracts people is very difficult. So instead, try a bunch of different things. You know, one of the things I do in my work is I literally try 100 things a month. I see what works, I throw out the things that didn't work, and I do the things that work twice or 3 times more, and just keep working on that scale. So when you're trying to find new leads, just continue to try things differently. So the courting and dating stage, this is something that real estate agents can really, really take advantage of. So these are examples of things I've done in the past for clients. Just really quickly, I'll go through them because it's more, I want you guys to understand the spirit of the idea more than just the idea. But in the courting and dating stage, it's your job as real estate agents to always be top of mind with your clients. Always remember their birthdays. Always remember anything that's going on. And this goes back to the 1950s mentality. So if you see the first arrow, that's a woman named Michelle Wolverton.